Welcome back. Unidentified flying objects are being spotted in many countries over the past week. The development comes days after a Chinese spy balloon was shot down in North Carolina on February 4 in the US. But in the US and bordering Canada alone, there have been 3 confirmed such episodes over the last 3 days alone. What's piquing everyone's interest is that while we don't really have any footage of these recent sightings, the official agencies are calling them unidentified objects or UFOs. The Pentagon, for example, says the objects were different from the surveillance balloon and they're not ruling out anything. They also mention how the shape of one such object was cylindrical, immediately invoking alien imagery, and that it seems to have no clear propulsion system. But it doesn't end here. There have been sightings even in Uruguay and China. Let me first break down, though, what has transpired in the US. So on Feb 4 was when the US military brought down this suspected Chinese balloon, an episode that increased tensions between Washington and Beijing. Then on February 10 of the week gone by, Pentagon shot down a UAP or a UFO as they call it over Alaska. The very next day, US and Canada take down another UFO over Yukon, which is a region in Canada. And the very next day again, another flying object is shot down over Michigan, a US state. In fact, there was also a closure of airspace over Montana a day before that, but no object was found. It was called a radar anomaly. The reason these sightings are becoming a worldwide talking point is because the agencies themselves are not ruling out that these objects could indeed be alien. Van Herk, head of North American Aerospace Defense Command, for example, has said, "We're calling them objects, not balloons, for a reason." When asked if he's ruling out alien tech, he said, "I'll let the intel community and the counterintelligence community figure that out. I haven't ruled out anything." On that note, let's also listen in to what some of the US and Canadian authorities have said over these sightings.
We have no further details about the object at this time, including any description of its capabilities, purpose, or origin. The object was about the size of a small car, so not similar in size or shape to the high-altitude surveillance balloon that was taken down off the coast of South Carolina on February 4.
The Department of Defense was tracking a high-altitude object over Alaska airspace in the last 24 hours and posed a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flight. Out of an abundance of caution and at the recommendation of the Pentagon, President Biden ordered the military to down the object. And they did, calling this an object because that's the best description we have right now. We do not know who owns it, whether it's state-owned or corporate-owned or privately owned. We just don't know. We don't have any information that would confirm a stated purpose for this object. We do expect to be able to recover the debris.
At the direction of the Prime Minister, aircraft assigned to NORAD successfully took down this high-altitude airborne object. To the best of our knowledge, this was the first time that a NORAD operation has downed an aerial object. The object was flying at an altitude of approximately 40,000 feet, had unlawfully entered Canadian airspace, and posed a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flight. The object was downed approximately 100 miles from the Canada-United States border over Canadian territory in central Yukon. Recovery operations are now underway and will be supported by the Canadian Armed Forces in conjunction with the RCMP.
Another sighting was officially disclosed in China too, making it a bit more curious for all concerned. So Global Times, which is the Chinese media mouthpiece, revealed that local maritime authorities in East China's Shandong province announced on Sunday that they had spotted an unidentified flying object in waters near the coastal city of Rizhao in the province. And they were preparing to shoot it down as well. Along with that, they've sent a reminder to fishermen folk, for example, to be safe via messages. And that's not all. The Uruguayan Air Force is carrying out an investigation, it says, after receiving complaints about the sighting of flashing lights in the sky over Termas de Almeron. They even made a statement saying the Uruguayan Air Force informs that in view of the complaints received on the night of Friday, February 10, regarding the sighting of flashing lights in the sky in the area of Termas de Almeron, the intervention of the Kridovny, which is the commissioned receiver and investigator of complaints of unidentified flying objects, has deployed investigators in that area of the country to gather information and interview witnesses. So the issue that we're discussing today, is this truly an intrusion by aliens, or is this some enemy technology that has got everyone worked up? Group Captain Uttam Kumar Devnath, former Indian Air Force officer and defense expert, is joining me on the show with that. What's your opinion, first up, Group Captain? Because a lot of these sightings are happening at the same time across the world. A lot of people will be very interested to know what's really happening here.
Yeah, all children, all teenagers are so curious. But on the serious part of it, it happens. Sometimes there will be a weather phenomena. The sunlight or the moonlight will get reflected from a peculiar angle, what we call in physics total internal reflection. So it may be one of those phenomena. If you have been to northern latitude, you will see aurora lights, which glow up at night depending upon temperature and the density of the air. Similarly, these lights will be found glowing or floating over some place because that particular radar or that particular telescope may have what is called a null zone. Sometimes in a radar or in a telescope, there will be some spot where an artificial light gets into the system and shows up as a object.
The difference here, though, is that the agencies themselves are saying they've shot down many of these objects. So they are indeed objects. They weren't light phenomenon. And what we're noticing recently is that there's a greater acceptability of such sightings. Initially, there used to be a culture where you used to call somebody crazy when they used to say they've seen something unidentified up in the air. But today you have a system in the US also, for example, where they're openly looking at these incidents and sightings and actually reviewing them. Do you think there's more openness about this today?
Exactly. See, UFOs or balloon-like objects were always there, but probably after the incident on 4th of February, the awareness is more now. Everyone has got its binocular, even Indian Air Force. We have got our radars trained in the skies, scanning Indian skies for any balloon or suspicious object. So probably now last the few days we are more aware. Scientists and military specialists are looking upward more often, day and night. So we are spotting more such balloons or objects. This is a very natural phenomenon. All the air forces, all the meteorological departments of various countries in the world, including IMD, International Meteorological Department, they send these balloons regularly to upper atmosphere or to stratosphere to monitor weather activities and other research requirements.
So initially, of course, China did accept that it was related to a private firm, but their balloon was the one that was shot down on February 4. Post that, there has been nobody who has claimed that it was their object. I do want to, mention for the benefit of our viewers, the number of UFO sightings significantly increased in USA, for example, between March 2021 and August 2022, during which 247 new sightings were reported, mostly by US Navy and Air Force pilots and personnel. That's almost a double of 144 UFO sightings in the previous 17-year period. And many experts believe, Group Captain, that that's because the system also is now geared towards accepting these sightings rather than denying these sightings. But I want to understand from you, what is the mechanism in India, or how many times would you remember that something similar has happened in India, where something unidentified has been spotted and jets have been scrambled, for example?
Oh, I was a fighter pilot in Air Force for 34 years.
Yes.
And probably in these 34 years, I remember only 2 occasions when over the skies of India, we had some suspicious object and we launched our interceptor aircraft. They climbed up to that height and then reported that they were probably debris of a balloon which was descending after. See, these balloons, once they rise, they expand because there is a gas inside, and they explode when they climb up to a height of 40, 60, 80,000 feet. So probably in Indian Air Force case, those were debris of the balloon which were falling down.
Okay.
And there was no damage caused to anyone.
Can I ask you, in this case, there are reports where agencies themselves are saying that these are cylindrical or octagonal objects. They don't know how they were being propelled. They don't seem to have any payload. What do you think, in your experience? Are we truly witnessing some sort of alien phenomena, or will this be soon explained, you think?
Oh, I wish these were UFOs. Every kid will be so thrilled. But let me explain the viewers that the US scientific community, NASA, carried out a study from 1973 all the way up to 1993, a period lasting 20 years, during which they deployed their spatial sensors not only in upper atmosphere but also in lower Earth orbit to locate any UFO phenomena or any alien craft. After 20 years of research, NASA finally gave an official report saying that no proof of an object originating from outer space was ever found.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is a tricky situation. They haven't really said that they believe this is alien tech, but at the same time, science dictates that you cannot rule out something unless you can prove it as well. Interestingly, in one of the downings that US and Canada did together, they're looking for the wreckage, and that would be very, very crucial to find, maybe to provide us with more answers. Group Captain, thanks a lot for joining us for that quick chat. With that, it's a wrap on Plain Speak. My colleague Maria Shakil is now joining you with News Epicenter.